District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical System. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System have been chosen to be evaluated in the EHS 301 Planning Emergency Health Systems course, because even though it is the capital of the United States of America, it has many problems that have been exposed by the media. Additionally, this EMS system is relatively close by with only about an hour's drive from UMBC, so information should not be difficult to obtain. The District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical System. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System provide fire suppression, emergency medical services, Homeland Security and Special Operations response for residents and visitors to Washington, D.C. It consists of 33 fire stations that deploy 39 EMS transport ambulances, 33 engine companies, 16 ladder trucks, 3 heavy rescue squads, 1 hazardous materials unit and 1 fireboat company. 14 of these transport units and 20 of these engine companies are staffed by paramedics providing advanced life support care. Fire and EMS provides services for special events, such as demonstrations, public gathering and presidential inaugurations, in addition to fire suppression and emergency medical protection for presidential motorcades and helicopter landings. In order for an EMS system to work well and function in a safe and effective manner, it must be evaluated on a common basis based on the 15 components of EMS system. The District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical System has some challenges in some of its EMS components, such as manpower, training, communication, transportation, system review and evaluation, disaster planning. Human resources are one of the biggest challenges facing DC Fire and Emergency Medical System. When comparing the population of DC with the FDEMS manpower, we can see the critical need of EMS personnel. According to the United States Census Bureau, Washington, D.C. has a population of 550,000 people who live in the city, and with a daytime population over 1 million people who work or visit the city each day. There are over 400 organized events per year that qualify for presence of fire and EMS personnel. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System units are pre-deployed to cover the event in case of an emergency. In 2008, the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System responded to 150,000 emergency medical calls, making it one of the busiest departments in the county. To keep up with the rising demand for service, in 2000, the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System began to deliver ALS via the engine company and raised their minimum staffing to 5 personnel rather than the standard 4. One of the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System performance benchmarks is to get ALS on scene within 8 minutes. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System struggles with the training aspect in terms of the 15 components of EMS. There have been several incidents that have been reported by the media. The nature of most of the incidents that occurred was incompetence of the providers. Further investigations revealed that most of the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System providers are not maintaining their knowledge and skills. Therefore, continuing education and training are big challenges for the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System. Communications is another challenge that the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System is facing. Emergency medical services personnel were issued the same 800 MHz Motorola digital radios as firefighters. They say the radios often fail when they need to notify hospitals, and the situation is worse underground in metro stations. Fire Chief Ronnie Few has said the problems stemmed from the fact that the city needs 19 antenna towers to relay radio signals but has only 4. On the other hand, because the District of Columbia is not a state, one of the most important issues to the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System is funding. Fire and Emergency Medical System. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System has not been successful in obtaining sufficient federal funds. The District of Columbia Fire and Emergency Medical System should seek additional funding resources from private entities. Public access is another issue that cannot be ignored when dealing with cultural and demographic changes, especially in a huge city like Washington, D.C. As we know, The District of Columbia communities are experiencing an influx of residents for whom English is not their primary language. This challenge is worrisome as an oral communications barrier could lead to delayed response, which has already occurred in some cases. SWOT analysis for the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System strengths. Public access. Good patient care is being provided. Dedication of the volunteer EMS community. The ability to provide necessary training. Equipment. Personnel, experience. Maintenance weaknesses. System finance unsatisfactory. All providers are not regulated. Fewer people seeking to volunteer. Some volunteer services are not well managed. Internal communications. Relationship between EMS and fire. No accurate financial forecasting opportunities. Challenges have been identified. Participation and consensus may offer the ability to make quicker changes. Partnerships with other organizations, businesses. Geographical location of the system threats. Volunteers cannot afford to live in areas they volunteer in. Continually increasing training requirements. The huge growth in population. Financial economy. Healthcare reform. Unfunded mandates. An effective strategic plan cannot sit static for any length of time and serve as a useful guide. The District of Columbia Emergency Medical System should follow a principle of challenge, plan, and respond, whereby it continuously scans current events, while looking to anticipate future threats and/or challenges so that it can plan and respond accordingly. Adjustments are made routinely. Some may be short-term, others require long-term attention. The adoption of the plan is the first step to embedding the change in the department and ensuring continued success. In conclusion, the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System operates a full service, despite several budget cuts, has maintained the ability to provide safety and health to the District of Columbia residents at the advanced life support level while providing other critical emergency response services, including fire suppression, hazardous materials response, technical rescue, confined space rescue, and water rescue. Compared to national standards, the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System Department is struggling to meet the national standards and guidelines for EMS system performance. In order for the District of Columbia Emergency Medical System to exceed the national standards and guidelines for EMS system performance, it must be evaluated on a common basis based on the 15 components of the EMS system.